So,
I, by the way, got
we've already...
cute when I typed that up.
Met cute. So it's like the Met Ball, but also like a meet cute.
Didn't get that until it was explained to me. I was thinking like the New York Mets, but there wasn't the Met.
Yeah, the Met Ball.
Cute.
Yeah, which is what they call it the Met Gala because they can't say the Met Ball. They can't say that apparently. The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and just like that, the Sex and the City Rehill, with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Sara Barron. Season 2, Episode 1, Met Cute, and Episode 2, The Real Deal. Okay, Sara Barron. Now, we talked to you last season of this rewatch show. Were you excited about this new season after last season?
Hugely. You know, I cannot think of another TV show that I have this kind of relationship with. So I think it is terrible in quite a few ways, but I cannot not love it, even when it's horrible. And between now and whenever we would have talked about season 1, now that we know what is clunky, what we know what's uncomfortable, when I've done and just like that season 1 rewatches, which I have done a couple of times since last December of 2021, whenever it was out, I just enjoy, it just feels like putting on that comfortable jumper. Have you had a same situation, or were you like, oh, they let me down a little bit, so I couldn't get excited for this one?
I certainly wasn't as excited for this one as I was as the last one.
Oh.
But the opening of season 2, episode 1 made me go, oh, maybe we're getting back into Sex and the City now. So they started with a lower bar than I had in my head for the last one. Last one, I had a spectacularally high bar because I was like, it's going to go back to the classic TV show, the best years. I decided that's what we deserve. We're having tough times. We've just come out of a global pandemic. What we deserve is absolute classic Sex and the City, and instead, what we got was some really tough stuff with mourning and just heavy subject matter and identity politics dealt with in a very clunky way. And I was like, no, why? And so this time, I feel like they are trying to revisit the glory days. So let's look at what happened. In episode 1, Carrie Bradshaw, our hero, is now having a lovely Thursday-only fling with her podcast producer, who's conveniently very handsome and suave.
Franklin.
An
interesting name for a sex object, don't you think?
I know a guy called Franklin Leonard who runs the Blacklist, and he's
incredibly debonair.
I think he's very attractive. Yeah, he's widely seen as, if you're listening, Franklin, you're widely seen as. He tries to ask her out on a proper date, not just a little bit of a booty call. And she at first says yes out of politeness, and then decides she's not ready. And then episode 2, season 2, what happens to Carrie?
She's doing sponsorships for her podcast, which is perhaps something you're even slightly familiar with. And one of them involves her mentioning the word suppository and discussing vaginal dryness. And she's like, no, this is a red line for me. Does that seem realistic to you as a podcaster yourself, Deb?
No. The truth of the matter is, if you as a podcaster feel strongly you don't want to do an ad, you don't ever have to do that ad. That's not a thing. I mean, the idea that the podcast would be so on its last legs that one sponsorship read could save it is ludicrous. So the producer's going, it's a deal breaker. It's this, or we cancel the show. You would know as a podcaster, well, then I guess the show's going to get cancelled.
Okay.
And me saying vaginal suppository 3 times is just the death knell. It's just
sure.
And why say it then? I mean, she certainly has, I think we can all agree, enough money.
Doesn't she? I am genuinely curious, and I don't know too much about how television works, but I felt that there was zero chemistry between Carrie and the actor who was playing Franklin. And that show always did, and even when we're talking about Sex and the City, not and just like that, even at its best, it was never flawless television. But one thing I thought it always got right
was chemistry.
And love interests. They were wonderful with casting those people.
They really were. And I guess they let the actors kind of play or something. But I think there was no time for her to play with this guy. All we saw was like a sort of montage of her in bed with him and then him watching a cooking show, not looking at her when he doesn't even cook. And I wanted to see more like, okay, so this is my fix. This is what I've decided to do. Let's play writer's room.
Okay, exciting.
So my writer's room fix for this is, and this is what I think the old Sex and the City team would have done, is the sex is amazing. She finds him boring.
Yes.
And so she's like, I keep thinking I'm going to get to more and we're going to get the banter and it's not really happening. And so but I really like the sex and actually I don't want much more. So the question is, can I have great sex with someone I find boring? Can I continue that?
It would have been like reverse Jack Berger. Remember with Jack Berger, it was like, we've got the Zaza Zoo, but then in the bedroom, it's the reverse of that.
Exactly. Reverse Berger.
Which was not completely dissimilar. Remember very early on, season 1, there was some storyline with this guy who was amazing in bed and she tries to go out on a date with him and it's like, we're talking like 1998 storyline.
I know exactly who that was.
Remember that guy?
It's Will Arnett playing that character. It's Will Arnett playing that character, the guy that does BoJack Horseman.
No, wrong.
Oh, you don't think it is?
Will Arnett, I know this. I know my trivia. Will Arnett is one of Miranda's boyfriend who can only fuck in public.
Oh.
That is who Will Arnett plays. He's not nearly as famous as Will Arnett. This is a guy.
Sucky to me guy, the guy that has the phone cards.
Maybe. I can't remember that detail. But anyway. I did wonder, like, he seems like a very nice person, but I was so underwhelmed by him as a character, which tends not to be my problem when I have a problem with the show, even within just like that I was like, what is this? And then I just thought, I wonder if he's like, we needed him through season 1. And now we're wrapping up with him.
Yes.
And he's goodbye forever. And when is John Corbett coming back?
Yeah.
It might be too soon to say that, but so we've tied.
I thought he was going to knock on the door at the end of episode 2. I really did. I was a little disappointed because we've been promised him.
We're going to get him, and I think we're going to get some runway of time with him.
The old Carrie was always kind of neurotic and conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bit of a problem that she just goes, okay, if he doesn't want to see me just Thursdays, that's cool. And just like that, I just freed up my whole week. And she's not neurotic and conflicted anymore. She's like, I don't want to see this guy.
I think we take positive things from this. Number one, a thing that Sex and the City always did that I did like was it did treat men like men were expendable.
That's true.
There are fish in the sea. Someone else always comes along, and your devastation is never, it was always, like the pretty, attractive, non-horrifying version of what like breakup pain feels like. It's like a few dinners out with your girls and baby, you're back. And I appreciate the lightness of all that and the levity of it. And so it's like, that was her in her 30s. So now her at almost 60 years old, she's too old for this shit in a positive way.
Yeah, good, fine. But it doesn't make as good drama. That's what I'm going to say. So I'm going to need to see some drama when Aiden comes back.
Okay.
Now let's look at what happened with Charlotte.
So Charlotte, of course, they're all going to the Met Ball.
Yes, which is the Met Gala, but apparently they're legally not allowed to say Met Gala, so they're saying Met Ball.
It's actually called the Met Gala?
Yes, it's the Met Gala, but they apparently they're not allowed to use that name. So
don't you feel like that is the exact institution that would say to him just like that, you can use the way they like use the offices of Vogue in season 5 or whatever it was?
Give permission. Maybe that says Sex and the City isn't as cool as it once was.
Ooh.
But Michael Patrick King said he's always wanted to do the Met Gala. And he's never done it. And that tells me that he's been trying to get the name for years. And in the end, he just said, fuck it, we'll change the name.
How interesting.
Yes.
So Charlotte's storyline is she's going to go and she finds out that Harry, her husband, really wants to join her.
Yes.
And she does not. She feels he's going to basically cramp her style on her fun night out. Has your husband ever really wanted to join you at like a swanky thing you get to go to and you have to be like, honey?
My husband is much more like Harry Goldenblatt in as much as he goes, you go, have fun. Like he doesn't really want to go to those things. But yes, there have been things where I've said, do you want to go to this? It's might be a thing. If not, I'll ask a girlfriend or a gay best friend or something like that. But occasionally it's gone, yes, I really do want to go. And I've gone, oh, that's great, honey. That's great. And, no, I like it when Tom wants to come with me. But of course, there's times where I've thought this is the perfect thing for X or Y. I wish I could ask Sarah Barron to this, but sadly, Tom
Selinsky needs to go instead.
He's using his husband ticket. So I think he does have first dibs. But she's given the ticket to Anthony, and she's embarrassed to now tell Anthony.
Yes. And then in episode 2, her storyline is that her eldest daughter, Lily, sells all of her amazing clothes to buy this keyboard that she wants to write a song. And I have to say, one of the things about the show that I am like into is I think my 2 favorite parts of it thus far. I can really watch those York Goldenblatts around the home. Like that family of 4 plus Anthony coming in is very watchable to me. And similarly, I can watch those Wexlers, Lisa Todd Wexler and her family and the mother-in-law. Like I can just sit back and all of the things that are not perhaps aging beautifully, or we're like, come on guys, where are the zingers? Give me my stuff. Give me what I'm used to. I go, okay, you're not giving me that, but I could sit in this house and watch this family.
The internet is agreeing with you that the Wexlers,
they are
is a fun to watch. Although there was a very strange storyline in this one, which we will get to. And Charlotte's family, I agree. Tom and I were watching it, and we said that those 2 kids have got the best dynamic of anyone. Now they've got good chemistry. The daughters,
yes,
they've got a fun dynamic going on. So maybe it is about moving in with the new. And
if I was in my writer's room, what I would do, big picture, and just like that winds down, and we just go the Wexlers and the York Goldenblatts, and then Carrie becomes secondary. Now there's a question as whether
I don't think SJP is going to let that happen.
No, and also Kristen Davis, God bless her, seems like a wonderful woman. But I've always felt that her acting wasn't. Her and Cynthia Nixon are never my favorite actors.
Oh my God, I think Cynthia Nixon is a brilliant actor.
Everybody does.
Kristen Davis is a little presentational at times, but it works for her. It works for her. So Miranda in episode 1, she's
with Che in Los Angeles, and she is concerned that their relationship is just sex.
Oh my God.
It's the dream.
Genuinely don't know what's happened to Miranda.
Tell me more.
Such a different character to me now. Her whole thing was, you never give away your life for your relationship. Your relationship has to fit into your life. Your life doesn't fit into your relationship. She was the polar opposite of Carrie. And now it's not, I quite like, as you say, they got to morph, they got to get older. I absolutely do get someone getting into their 50s and go, do you know what? I've given my whole life to a law firm. And while that did feed me, and that was my priority, I'm tired. I'm sick of working 14 hours a day and Saturdays and Sundays. And I've fallen in love. I feel like a teenager. Why don't I just put that first for a while and experiment with that? So I'm open to that. I'm open to Miranda changing. But she's acting and being treated like a groupie. Like she's at the Comedy Store watching Che do stand-up. And there are waitresses going, you can't stand there. You can't stand there. And I'm like, she's Che's significant other and she's not got a seat. She's not got a good seat, a VIP seat. She's being knocked out of the way. She's saying at her AA meeting, I've got nothing to fill my days with. And I'm like, I don't believe that. I believe she would be doing pro bono work. She gave up her corporate law job in season 1 to go into human rights law. Great. But why is she now not doing pro bono human rights law in California? Just volunteering at, there's so many places that lawyers can volunteer. That's what she wanted to do. She's got nothing to do with her days. I can see her putting the relationship first and going, fuck it, I'm moving to LA. But I cannot see her doing nothing in LA that feeds her. Don't believe it.
Do we think something is coming with the woman who invited her to do the environmental cleaning up of the beach?
Oh, do you think she's going to cheat on Che with the environmentalist?
Something like, I don't think we've seen the last of that character. And it's interesting because all we know about her is that she made the approach.
Yeah.
She made this comment about the virgin arms. And we learned very quickly she has a husband and she has a child. And I wonder if we're going to see her fall for Miranda.
Oh, I kind of hope so. Because Che, I feel, is all about Che. I mean, I'm not the only one. The internet feels Che is all about Che, and they've got a lot of narcissistic tendencies. But I just feel like Miranda I get her falling for someone. I get her changing her life. I get her all of this. But I don't believe that she would not say, great, I'm going to move to LA and finish my human rights law course there. Or I'm going to do this or that. Or I've always wanted to do X and I never took the time for myself. So now it's love and I'm going to explore, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to explore cooking. I'm going to whatever. I don't know. But something that she's always wanted to do. So I can only hope at some midpoint of this season, she's going to go, what have I done? What have I become? Like, clearly needed a refresh on my life. But this
isn't it.
Is me following someone around and trying to put on a strap on and then feeling bad that they're not paying me attention. And then I don't know their number. And then, the whole thing with Tony Danza.
Yeah, that was very, very strange. I feel that the show so far in 2 episodes is telling us that love is going to be for real. I think that it is being set up as a very long-term thing.
To Miranda and Che?
Mm-hmm.
I don't look forward to that.
I could be wrong. I have no idea what I'm talking about a lot of the time. But I'm like, this, what I would, if I was in the writer's room, I'd go, look, you're learning, as we all do, the items of clothing to keep around and the ones that are not really truly for you.
Yeah.
And I feel the Wexlers and Seema are like forever.
Right.
And I feel that Che and Professor Nia Wallace are the less compelling characters.
I think the fundamental problem is there's just too many characters.
This is the thing. Something they got to weed out.
Care as much about all. It used to be there's 4 people you care about. And I absolutely do truly believe that they should have put Seema in the Samantha chair. And then I really think Miranda could have had like a kick-ass law partner in her own boutique law firm and new lover. New lover is replacing Steve. We all cared about Steve.
Kind of works.
We cared about Steve. But I just think, we're investing in whole new families and love lives and stories. I can't care about everyone to the same extent.
Exactly.
But I have to say, Lisa Todd Wexler, they call her LTW. She must be the most beautiful woman in the world.
Mm-hmm. I watched that scene, the way that they opened the first episode of season 2 with they're all walking toward their people.
Yeah.
I didn't really need all the fucking of the people because it was like, that was all implied with the walking, but fine. When she walks toward her husband and that like bra and underwear and her thing and he throws this like all day. I could watch her all day.
She's very beautiful. She's like honestly probably the most beautiful woman in the world. She's so charismatic. And then that iconic scene of her, she decides to go to the Met Ball, not gala, in a red Valentino dress with the wild train, a wildly ridiculous train, and then a sort of face covering. And there's a fun little plot device that because he's insisted on going down on her for an hour and a half or something, or for 8 minutes. For 8 minutes, she's forgotten to confirm the van that's meant to take there. She can't fit into a normal cab. So we got to walk 10 blocks, which it creates, I think, probably one of the most iconic moments in television history in terms of fashion, where she is walking across the street and he's carrying the train behind. And it's, if you haven't seen it, Google it.
I have chills. It was so amazing.
Breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking
They
fashion
are
moment.
bringing it fashion-wise.
They are.
Oh my God. The thing that Carrie is wearing, that sort of all white ensemble with her little hat to the side when she walks out of her house after Charlotte has found out that she's like fucking her producer. Amazing. And even what she's wearing, you know who she has great chemistry with, SJP, is Bobby Lee in the role of Jackie. I think Jackie and Carrie have wonderful chemistry.
Yes, yeah.
And they go out it's very good. And they go out for one little dinner and they which is when he pitches, when they're talking about his girlfriend designing the Met Ball dress, the ill-fated Met Ball dress. And she's just in something fabulous at that bar they're sitting at.
They are bringing the fashion, I think. It's less believable than the Sex and the City fashion. They used to just mix her wardrobe up so much. There were all these different pieces and it looked like a fashionista's wardrobe. And I think now it looks like a done look, like a costume.
Oh, interesting.
But
okay.
I will say about that hat, which is that cute on the side, like big boater that she had on. Do you know that was the hat that caused a lot of problems in season 1? Because Michael Patrick King was like, no, absolutely don't want it on the set. And SJP really liked it. And there was a fight about it. And the costume designers brought it back for this season. And he said something like revenge is a bitch because they basically got it in.
What was his problem with it?
He just didn't like it. He didn't think it was the character. And he also, it's harder to film people's faces when there's hats.
Oh, of course.
And he was just like, no, I don't want that. And she said, but the outfit only works with the hat. If you told me you didn't want the hat, we would have worked out a different outfit. So there was a whole Barney about that hat. But people apparently were terrified. People walked off the set. It was a whole thing. That hat almost brought in just like that season 1 to a halt.
This is very interesting news.
Came back for season 2.
But after all the fashion compliments, I did feel that the dress that she's supposed to wear to the Met Ball was horrible.
Oh.
That thing that like winds up not fitting her.
It looked like something you'd get from Monsoon.
Yeah, what was that? It was very bizarre.
I did not understand that because it was meant to be Storm, I think it's her name. If it's not, it's something like Storm, who is the designer. And she's like, if I didn't think she was a hot mess of talent, I wouldn't let her dress me for the Met Ball. What she brings in looks like something you'd get from Monsoon for a Christmas office party with all of these like green
pieces
stripes.
Of ribbon? I did not understand.
It just didn't look right. And then also, I just felt the whole thing implausible. If you are a young designer and some kind of fashion icon has said, you get that ready so much earlier. Like, when did she figure this out? That plot line only works if she's been let down by somebody else and she swoops in to try and help but has something that's not quite ready. I just don't buy that a young designer would not have had that right, there's millions of seamstresses in New York City, does not get someone there and go, make this work. What did you think of her wearing her wedding dress to the Met Ball?
So this is the thing. I was very underwhelmed by her outfit and also Charlotte's.
Oh.
Like in that sort of weird kind of slightly S&M-y thing, which I was like,
the internet agrees with you. Many people did not enjoy the latex S&M nature of Charlotte's outfit. What I thought it evoked was Charlotte is a horse rider. Do you remember?
Yes.
In Sex and the City.
Yes, of course.
She was too scared to get back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe, and I'm going to give you a hot take here.
Wow.
Charlotte York Rosenblatt is the only character who's truly grown in a real way that I believe the growth, I believe the confidence that's come out of the life choices she's made.
Uh-huh.
And I feel she is not just back on the horse. I feel like she is astride the horse. She is someone who now would explore S&M in the bedroom and be not frightened to wear it to the Met Gala. I feel Charlotte knows herself. She knew herself from really young. She wanted to get married. She wanted to have kids. That's a hard thing to do with the right person. She really worked for it. She really got there. And I think I truly believe her as a 50-something woman who, as a 35-year-old woman, would be like, I couldn't possibly wear something that was S&M out in public. What will people think of me? I don't know if I can ride a horse again because I fell off tatty. And is now like astride her husband, astride a horse, astride S&M in public. I believe her growth.
Okay. I am 100% on board for her growth and that it feels authentic. But I have to circle back, which they make fun of in the show.
They make fun of it.
That I feel that, like, you know, all of us only have a certain amount to give. And I feel that everything Sex and the City had to give to this idea of doing their Met episode, everything good went to Lisa Todd Wexler. And Seema did okay. And Carrie and Charlotte got the scraps.
Can I have a big complaint about this Met Ball episode. This is the second time we have seen that fabulous Vivienne Westwood wedding dress not ever get to the party.
This is the thing.
I was so let down that we didn't see them there. We didn't even see them go in. We didn't see, because they kept saying celebrities only on those steps. We're not going to get to those steps. I just really wanted to see Anthony just take a wrong turn and go up those steps and get past security, and Charlotte, follow him on
guest appearance by
exactly or something like that. Harry be like, you went on the steps, you said we wouldn't get to go. They end up talking to Rihanna, know, and Harry's pissed off, whatever. But just some adventure at the Met, even if we just saw like still photos at the end of them at the Met, or something. It felt such a letdown. It's the second time we've seen that dress not get to the ball.
Yes.
So disappointing. That I was like, man. And I get what they were doing with it by, it's really the Met's all about the dressing up, and it's, really there. When you're there, people say it's quite boring. You're just standing around in uncomfortable clothes. People don't want to talk to anyone. Like
everyone's in like a terrible mood because they can't breathe.
Yeah, and like you don't know, can you go over and talk to Rihanna? Probably not. So you're then thinking, I don't want to be a star fucker. So you just stay on your side of the room and talk to the people you already know. And it's just talking to your friends, anyone who could get in uncomfortable clothes. I did think, what did you think of the etiquette of Seema can't come? So in front of Seema, she gives her +1 ticket to Anthony. So Seema knows. And then Seema just calls up and goes, I'm coming again, i.e. dump Anthony. And she does. I would not do that. Sarah, if you said to me, I'd love to come with you, but I can't, have something super important going on with Jeff. And then on the day you rang me and went, oh my God, the thing's fallen through. I feel you would say to me, I don't expect you to drop Anthony. But if for any reason Anthony can't come or another ticket's become available, I would love to come. I then would go, Sarah, I'm so sorry, Anthony can come and I can't really dump him.
I think that, if I may jump from one genre to another here, I think your obsession with the TV show Succession has made you forget how unrealistic most television is. Like you're so stuck in looking up going, but here's how people behave really. And it's like, yes, but we're out of that world now.
But Jesse Armstrong might be listening to this because he loves you, and he might be hearing this and thinking, Deborah Francis White's exactly who I need in my next writer's room.
Well,
that's what he's probably thinking.
He'd be a smart man if he did.
That's what he's probably thinking, hearing me say this. Obviously, Sex and the City is not as truthful and is not intending to be as truthful as Succession. But there are some things that for me, I'm just like, as a writer, I would want to cover my tracks more. Here is one. Miranda's on the beach picking up seaweed. Firstly, why?
Okay, yes. So this is the thing. There is the kind of seaweed. I don't think it's like this is bad environmentally, although maybe it is. Maybe it's one of those weird things that it does something. I don't know. I did
try and Google it because I thought maybe they've got a problem with too much seaweed or something in California.
Maybe it's aesthetics. Like you want a beautiful beach that isn't covered in seaweed. And
that's not environmentalism.
There are a few holes here going on, as you've already pointed out. But they keep saying
saving the planet. I don't know. But then she loses her phone. Okay, she has a quick look for her phone. She can't find it. She goes to these guys, these surfer dudes. She rings Jay, and Jay says, it would take an hour and a half for me to get to you, and the dinner's in an hour. So in other words, she was going to be, and if it's going to take an hour and a half to get there, it's going to take an hour and a half to get back, and the dinner's in an hour. So she was going to be back in 90 minutes and then have to obviously have a shower. So she was never going to be at that Tony Danza dinner. No. Number one. That's my one problem. Number two, but I just think as a writer, you can cover that. You can say, look, it would only take you an hour to get back, but it's going to take traffic to, whatever. Another thing, this to me, I can't understand it because the fans will know this. Harry says, my mother's been dead for 10 years. I'm sorry, but Charlotte, when she went to marry him, he said, I'm Jewish and I have to marry someone Jewish. I promised my mother. She's like, I know I can work mothers. And he goes, my mother's dead. That was in 2002, people.
Bizarre.
That was 21 years ago. And also she wasn't recently dead then. He wasn't mourning her.
No.
So she's been dead at least 25 years.
It was so bizarre. And also it wasn't one of those like, there are these things that people get into like mistakes in films where if you know Chicago really well, you know that with the opening of When Harry Met Sally, when they're driving out of Chicago, it doesn't make sense because you drive. It's not one of those things. It's like they wrote the show. Harry's whole deal was that his mother was dead when they met.
Yes,
that was like a plot point in a way.
It was a big thing. The whole thing hinged on, I promised my mother. Now she died. I cannot go back on that promise because I can't convince her to take this back. And that was 2002. And I thought this has to be 20 years ago. And I looked it up. It's 21 years ago.
I think they're getting, it's a little sloppy.
That
That felt very sloppy to
So
me.
at one point they're having lunch and Seema says, I'm not going to make it to the Met Ball because it's a European lunch. It could take a month. And then immediately Carrie says, oh, your glam squad needs to be there at 2:30 in the afternoon. That's not much time. I need a month. Both of them use a month as a comically long period of time.
Are you sure?
Within 2 sentences. Yes, I went back to listen to it. And I'm like, guys, you used to be the zingiest writers.
So what's going on? What's going on?
I don't know.
Is it Michael Patrick King? Is he just like, what are they not hiring the right people or the people who used to write? What is going on? I don't understand.
It's not clear to me, but I feel like there were some zingers though. Some zingers I really enjoyed. Honestly, I think they were pretty much all Anthony's. There was a nice one where Carrie said, I think my vagina has to write its own monologue.
That was good. There was the like, if I don't see him Tuesday, I'm going to be a C unit. That was
Tuesday.
That was
in the school of the old days.
It was in the school. That's right.
In the old days, every scene would have 5 or 6 of those.
What is up?
I don't know. But
nothing to prove. Is that it? Nothing to prove?
I feel like they don't feel they have nothing to prove right now. I think they feel they have everything to prove because people criticize the movies. People have criticized the reboot.
Yes, but people love it.
Yeah, people will always come back for more.
And the numbers must be crazy.
I believe the numbers are probably quite good. Hello, Guilty Feminists. We're recording 5 more live episodes and you can come and see us at the Turner Gallery in Margate on the 9th of July, supporting local charity Power of Women Thanet. We're at King's Place in London on the 24th of July and we're at Soho Theatre on the 11th and the 12th of August. And we're live from Chichester on the 21st of August. I'll be in Chichester doing a Guilty Feminist episode because I've written a play called Never Have I Ever, which will be on in Chichester at the Minerva for the whole of September. It stars Alexandra Roach, Ahmed Shah, Greg Wise, and our very own Guilty Feminist Susan Wacoma. And it's about money, sex, power, politics, and running a restaurant. You can also join our Patreon to get ad-free episodes. And if you're passing iTunes or Spotify and you felt like leaving us a 5-star review, we would love you forever. It helps other people find the podcast, as does you telling someone. And now back to that very podcast. Ooh. So what did we like about it? So we've really gone on about the things that we don't like.
Okay, a great point of realism.
Yes.
Back to the Wexlers. When Lisa Todd is balancing all her shit and her kids come in and she makes them breathe in her face to check their breath. That is realist.
Yeah.
I do that with my son every day. I'm like, let me check you. Because bad breath, you can't be that person. And you cannot be that person when you're a kid.
Oh, another zinger I enjoyed was Seema saying to her hairdresser, I pay you to blow me, not shrink me.
Yeah, that was great.
That's funny.
So the actress who plays Seema, Sarita Chowdhury, I do feel that she started to flex comedically a little bit in this episode because all that blowout stuff and her coming back with that mangled head of hair was quite funny. And her entering that salon in that leopard print with that belt wrapped around. Oh, that was very good as well.
Yeah, I think if they focused in on a couple of the new characters and we weren't having to juggle so many different plot lines and they got some people to punch the script up so that we had more of those zingers, I really think we could get back there. I really, really do.
Yes, because again, I think if they introduce 4 new characters and 2 of those characters are great, that is a good hit rate to me. What did you think we, the audience, were supposed to make of Lily's song? Power of privilege.
Yes. I mean, I think we were meant to see, so Anthony says, who is she, Lily Eilish? I think we're meant to see her as this kid who's complaining about having a great life, complaining about privilege. Although Charlotte's face, it was a little mixed messages because they were like making fun of her, but then Charlotte's face was like, oh no, she feels she has to be a good girl.
Yes. So you're like, oh, you are carrying some of what I've had to carry. But then I liked it because it was a moment of complexity in that show, which we don't always get. So you're like, this is horrible and uncomfortable. We all want to die. But also, wait, this little girl is saying to her mom, I've got this bit of baggage already that you've carried your whole life.
Yes.
I enjoyed that moment.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of them. The Wexlers, I found I found that storyline very strange because it was about respectability politics, and the grandmother wants the child's hair not to be natural. And then the grandmother has a go at him for being angry about not being able to get a cab as a black man. And I thought that was going to be about his wife saying, look, she's a different generation. That's her respectability politics. We need to show her we're a different kind of modern family. And we can respect her views without, she's your mother and we need to be respectful, but we need to show her we're not going to hide who we are before she comes. And you're allowed to be angry if a taxi driver is literally not looking you in the eye and pretending he can't see you. Obviously, they're allowed to have whatever conversation they want as a couple about that and about how she feels about his safety. That's fair enough. But she basically said, yeah, when we get angry, they win. And then I went online because it's not for me as a white person to say. They've got black writers in the room. But I went online. I saw a lot of black Americans saying, what is this respectability politics that she's saying don't wear a headscarf to bed because of the Emancipation Proclamation? As an American, what did you feel about that plotline?
Well, so I think what I'm curious about is the audience and just like that reaches. So I'm white. And I come from a very, very white town. And I remember, so I can remember getting to an age where I learned that Black people in America being unable to get a taxi cab is like a thing. And I remember learning that like in the 90s, despite being a very, very sheltered white child. And so I'm wondering like if that felt like news to the audience or if the Black audience for Sex and the City.
I saw some of the black audience saying this is a really old school plotline because they said you'd get a Lyft or an Uber now. So they were like, it feels like an old cliche that you know.
That's sort of what I'm trying to get at is it's like they have a platform and they clearly want to be using it correctly. And is African Americans, especially, or maybe not especially, but African Americans in New York struggle to get a taxi. Come on, guys. There's still a lot to say about white privilege and what African Americans carry, but like a fresh.
I was just surprised Lisa said the mother-in-law was right about that because it just seemed like. Anyway, it's maybe it's not for us to deconstruct, but I just did feel like
it's three separate topics, right? So one is the headscarf, one is
the child's
natural hair and how it's styled, and the third is the taxi. And I didn't feel like I truly didn't feel like even entitled to an opinion on the hair and on both sort of hair issues. But the taxi cab thing, I was like,
yeah, it just to me, I don't know. I went to Twitter to see what people were saying, and I was like, they were saying
it was a little too.
They were saying what I expected, which is why is the message, yes, live up to these ideas of respectability politics.
I will say, I thought another one of those great lines was when the mother-in-law comes in and they're all like, hi. And she makes this snide little comment about like, oh, and how was your performance from The Lion King?
Because
she's like, it was one of my best. I was like, these fucking Wexlers are bringing it.
Yeah, that was funny. That was very funny. I used to love the way Sex and the City was themed. So, you know, to be an episode where everyone would be looking at like school days from a different angle. So Carrie would be dating an old boyfriend from school.
Yes.
And Samantha would be talking her way into Soho House and nicking a pass and they're all getting in trouble.
And they go to like cafeteria.
Exactly.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite things.
Yes.
Is that they were all playing with the same idea but from different angles. Obviously, that's an artifice because, you know, if you and I meet up for a coffee, our lives are not thematically linked. You know, where one of us is wearing braces and the other is being picked on by mean girls at work. Like, it's not that.
Yeah.
However, I thought that really was one of the great stylistic, wonderful pieces of Sex and the City. So because what they knew is they wanted Carrie to wear her wedding dress to the Met Gala. That was what they started with.
Yes.
So then they start out from that. They said that's what they started with anyway.
Yeah.
That they wanted to do a Met Ball or a Met Gala episode, and they knew that Carrie would wear that wedding dress. So for me, that is about like turning a bad experience into a good experience. So turning, you know, the horror of being stood up at her wedding into a fashion moment or upcycling.
Yes.
You know, turning something that we don't use, you know, there's no way I'm ever going to use that again, but I don't want to get rid of it. How do I upcycle it?
Yes.
And upcycling is quite a new idea that's happened since Sex and the City was taken off the air. So I feel like I would have started with upcycling and then I would have said, okay, how do you upcycle your boyfriend? So Naya, her husband is pissing her off and she's throwing out his stuff. How does she upcycle his stuff? So if she cleverly uses something,
yes, I'm into
instead
this.
of just throwing everything in the bin, she goes, I've upcycled his favorite, guitar.
Yeah.
And I've turned it into this. And he finds out and is horrified because it's his classic piece, but she's now turned it into something. That's upcycling. So what else could you upcycle? Someone upcycles a man. Seema starts dating a guy. He's not that great, but she restyles him to take him to the Met Ball.
Yeah.
But with a kind of, she's
good.
like acts.
I'd watch this.
Right. She upcycles him. So she acts like he's maybe someone he's not, or he's massive fashionista when really he's just been at home in his sweats. So I would love to see them do this again, because that's satisfying in itself then. Then it doesn't really matter if it's a bit inconsequential that Seema's taken some guy. Who cares about this guy? But we've got the satisfaction of braiding those threads together and seeing those moments. For me, that would inspire the writer's room a lot more, because at the moment it feels very fragmented to me. It feels like she doesn't get to go to a dinner with Tony Danza and kind of so what? But as soon as these ideas bounce off each other and create one big statement around, can you X, Y, and Z? Those old questions in the middle. That's what I would like. So Michael Patrick King, if you're listening,
God, come and get her.
I would like
get in there, Deb.
I would
get
like to bring that idea back. With The Real Deal, it's called The Real Deal because Lily just clears out her closet, creates spaciousness, I would say, for her new life. She's like, I'm not that chintzy little girl that you used to dress in ridiculously Chanel couture. So I'm selling all my clothes. You told me to make it work. You told me I need to find the money myself. I found the money in my wardrobe. I've sold all these clothes to something that's meant to be a faux, the real real.
What is the real real?
I think the real real is these high fashion clothes.
Okay.
By the sound of it, that you can, you sell off your Chanel handbag and someone else
So you can
gets
then
it.
go there to buy a Chanel handbag, but it's not as much as it would have been, or is it more like vintage pieces?
Well, sometimes it's worth more. So what she was saying is in 4 years.
Okay.
In 4 years, that Chanel dress will be worth a lot more than she sold it for. So I would look at that interplay between what's real about this closet full of clothes this kid doesn't fit into. She says, Lily probably doesn't fit into that dress anymore anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So what's real, what's valuable about an old dress that is not valuable to that kid anymore? Its value might be in dollars and cents, but what's more valuable to her is she gets to write her own music. I don't know. That's
the power of privilege.
Yeah. What else was that episode about? Carrie's podcast going bust.
But this is sort of your point, is that these different sort of storylines. So Carrie doesn't want to do her podcast thing. Charlotte's daughter wants to be a songwriter and sells off all her clothes. And Miranda is now stranded without a phone.
Yeah.
And finds out about an ex she didn't know about.
Yeah. So Che goes out for dinner with Tony Danza, the 80s actor, and he says, I can't authentically play your father as a Mexican because I'm not Mexican, I'm Italian. So can we switch your father to be Italian and give you an abuelo? So that's about authenticity.
Uh-huh.
And Che may well say, but I'm not authentically Italian. So that conversation around who can act as what could be interesting. That's about authenticity. That's about the real deal. Are you the real deal? So we've got 2 real deal strands, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm going to say Miranda is not being real or authentic or true to herself because she's on the beach picking up seaweed.
You're having a very, very hard time giving over to Miranda's new life.
It's very
hard for you.
But I looked it up, and in California, you don't take seaweed off the beach. This is not a thing.
Okay.
So this is bizarro. She's cleaning the beach up by taking, in a bucket hat that is very ugly, I
hate that bucket hat.
Oh my God.
P.S. At the beginning of, sorry to just go back for a second, but in episode 1 where they all come out in their negligees, and even Carrie, she wasn't in a negligee, but she was in that sexy sweatshirt.
Oh, it's a New York Times sweatshirt, which apparently they're going to become available now, and we're all going to be in them.
I would love to wear one with those little heels. I mean, whatever. And then she came out in like a shitty looking sundress. Remember? What was that? I hated it.
She's always had the less exciting
No,
fashion.
but but she, in the fucking films, she was Miranda
in
was
the
doing some
film,
shit,
yeah,
hot
that's true.
looks. And I thought that was the direction we were going. I'm displeased, but continue.
Yeah, it's true. She didn't get a hot negligee. Do you know what? I think she could have gone in a more mask direction, actually, and been in some really cute, like, boxers with, like, a little, like, vest top or something like, like a little singlet top.
They were going in the second half of the noughties. They were going in a great direction for Miranda.
Yeah. She's always been a T-shirt girl in bed, and I think she could have had a little fitted T-shirt with a cute slogan on and, like, some boxers or something cute, but really sexily done. Hot.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I don't think she wants to necessarily be in a negligee. And so that's why I think it was, as you say, it was a sundress. So I think she could have done stuff about authenticity and, hold on, what am I doing here? I don't even know my partner's phone number. And okay, we already had it because the Wexlers, we're not being true to our child. We're faking her hair. What lesson is that teaching her?
Yes.
She needs to say to her grandmother, this is how we wear our hair now, and it's authentic, and it's me, and it's my hair. And teach her kid to stand up and have the grandmother go, you're right, that's authentically you. That's the real deal. We've been, I've been taught to hide who I am, to be respectable. Then we go cooking with gas. Then we know where all of those stories should go. They should all go towards the real deal.
You are a stickler for cohesion.
Well, no, because this show was about that.
I know.
This show was about that. That's what it promised me.
I know.
I used to love to tune in to see how they were all had these different stories that would come to the same point where we all, they would all learn different lessons about a particular theme or a particular way of looking at the world or a particular evocation of something. But those lessons were all in some way or another tied together.
And then if we are going to end every episode with and just like that, then that the conclusion to that sentence has to then back reference whatever that episode was about.
I truly believe if they just did that for the rest of it, if they just brought back those themes, they would feel more satisfying to us. Because at the moment I feel unsatisfied. I'm like, but why do I care? So Miranda lost her phone. That's something that could happen in real life, but it doesn't feel important.
Michael Patrick King, what's going on with you? He's going on an emotional journey. You have to be in a place where you are ready to give 100%. And I think he was able to 20 some years ago. I don't think he's ready anymore.
It might be.
Hire Deborah and like us.
It might be that he needs to hire me. Others may not feel the same. Can we talk about the purse, the pigeon purse?
Oh my God, that was incredible. I loved that. And I also, just another positive moment before we move off the Wexlers, I did love that the mother-in-law's burn was like, maybe you need the tea. Chamomile. I could watch that mother-in-law, like when she arrives to that apartment and that necklace that's taken off, like her entire strip. I could watch that lady all day.
I mean,
God, spin off me, Michael. Get it together and spin me off with the Wexlers.
Can we just? And I know that you want more Wexler content.
No, okay, I'm done now. I have said my piece.
No. I want you to have all the Wexler content you want. You deserve it. Succession's been ruthlessly ripped from your hands.
Oh, give me something to think about.
You need some Wexler love. That pigeon clutch was J.W. Anderson. Okay, so I have a little. Listeners have told me they like it when I find those Easter eggs.
Yes.
This is an Easter egg. Now,
okay.
Judith Lieber makes purses, right? Do you remember Big?
Yes.
She says to Big, I love you. He can't say it back.
Yes. And she's got that purse.
And he gives her.
Yes.
It's a
clutch.
It's like a clutch with bejeweled swan clutch. It's very unlike her. Then he takes her to an uptown party. All the women are carrying them. And it's like he's trying to make her into something she's not. It's giving her an ugly purse instead of saying I love you.
It signifies he doesn't truly know her.
Right. Here now she carries a J.W. Anderson pigeon purse, but it's very, very similar, except a pigeon and a swan are very different. A swan is very fancy. It's also bejeweled. This is a pigeon purse that just looks like an actual pigeon. It's like, no, I'm not that. I was never that. And now I can say I love you to myself. I don't need this man to be in my bed any more than Thursdays.
Oh my God, I'm so down for this.
He's fired. And I've got this pigeon clutch that's not bejeweled, and I got it for myself. Now, I have a third spoke to this wheel of truth.
This is the wheel of ultimate truth.
Yeah.
Even though they couldn't remember how long Harry's mother has been dead for, so it seems very crazy to me that they're capable of this, but I fucking love it, and I'm dazzled. Keep going.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm not someone who thinks authorial intent is that important. If it's there, what we see in it is as important as what they intended us to see in it.
Yes. I think that too.
So I've got a third spoke, and it's going to blow your mind. Do you remember the cupcake bag of betrayal from the movie? So the movie number one.
Oh, Lily's little phone when she was a little girl, and she goes, hello.
So she steals Carrie's phone, puts it in her cupcake handbag when she's a flower girl. So he can't get in touch with her, and he just feels he needs to hear her voice, and that's where the whole wedding gets called off. That cupcake handbag is Judith Lieber, the same as this one. And we see it. We see it in this episode.
The cupcake bag?
In the real deal. So she goes and looks in Lily's wardrobe to see, oh my God, she sold her clothes. Do you know what she hasn't sold? The Judith Lieber cupcake
What?
bag.
Shut your face.
That's right. And that again is a link back to Big, like this bag, but it's a link back to the wedding, which is also with the wedding dress of betrayal. It's the cupcake bag of betrayal. It's we're now leaving Big behind, but he's still present, because otherwise that cupcake bag would have been one of the things we saw sold, and it wasn't sold, and it's Judith Lieber, so it's expensive. So she could have sold that. She decided to hold on to it because it's a sort of, we're tent-polling now. These are the significant things that have happened to Carrie. She will never forget the way that Big betrayed her, and that she now needs, he's died, she's grieved, and now she needs to find her independence. So I think this is a growth story, and it's being done correctly through the medium of handbags.
I feel like you're a great sleuth. And at least in this moment, I'm the only person who's heard you talking other than potentially your husband. And I feel privileged. It's the power of privilege.
The power of
privilege.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Lily going to become a singer-songwriter and leave her classical Chanel roots behind? I suspect so.
This is what was interesting, is that in season 1, we see her playing, which is, of course, when Big is dying.
Yeah, that's another link that starts out. Two links. Okay. What is the opening song of season 2, episode 1? What's the opening song? When they're all having sex. It's Hold Me Closer,
Tiny Dancer.
And what does Phoebe from Friends famously?
I've never watched Friends. Now
oh my God.
It's revealed. What? It was never big with people like me in the US, but anyway.
All right. Phoebe mishears that, and therefore many people sing it as Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza. They must know that's a joke. Surely they know it. Surely they're in on that gag. And Tony Danza is in this show.
Fucking face up.
Google Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza. Elton John recently sang it when he was hanging out with Courtney Cox and a bunch of other cool people like Ed Sheeran. And they put it on Instagram for Lisa Kudrow. They were like, Lisa, we're singing this with Elton. And Elton was like, Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
Oh my
God. And Lisa Kudrow made a video back going, it's not that. It's Hold me close, young Tony Danza, which is true. They got it a little wrong, but it's funnier, Hold me closer, Tony Danza, honestly.
She is the coolest of all time, Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow is the coolest of all time. What are you hoping will happen in the next episode of And Just Like That?
Oh, okay. Are we talking like plot-wise or like just generally?
I'm looking for anything that you're hoping for.
Okay, so very, very generally, I hope that they are on a journey of learning and discovery. And I hope that as they start to, that they are feeling what I am feeling in terms of what's clicking and what's working. And the Miranda Che stuff fades a little. Like, so Che and Professor Nia Wallace are Miranda connections. And I hope that takes a back seat. I hope our California and Nia situation takes a back seat. And the Wexlers and the York Goldenblatts and Carrie and Aiden are front seat. Great. Broadly speaking, this is what I'm hoping for. And don't keep us waiting too long.
I want Aiden to appear in the next episode, and I want there to be a genuinely complex and I want to see Carrie torn again.
A real journey you're asking
real journey.
for.
I want a real journey. I want an old school real Carrie journey. Also, I'm going to give you a challenge.
Ooh.
We're both stand-up comics. We both have to, live on stage sometime before we see each other again.
Okay.
At some point, we have to try the line, LA's making me lazy, or fill in your thing here.
Okay.
I got an Uber from the bathroom to the kitchen. It was so expensive. Thank you and good night. We have to end our set on that joke.
No, I'm not doing that.
And we need to see how it manages to get that. Whoa, oh my God,
I'm not fucking doing that. Now, number one, in fairness to Che, American audiences are much better. but I think that makes us, that is good. That's what you want. I feel sometimes like for a comedian living in the UK, which I do and you do, it's like you're training in a marathon and you're running on the beach. So when you fucking hit that pavement, look out. And I can feel like once you like have your little moment of adjustment, if you get to go play to a US crowd, it's like you're on pavement all of a sudden, motherfucker. You can afford to do that because I'm just spade a spade here. Your career has taken you out of some of the fucking hellholes that I am still doing stand-up in. So you try it in those rooms.
I'm going to
tourists in Leicester
it.
Square, I'm not fucking trying that.
Can you not say, now I've tried that joke because I saw it on And Just Like That and it was really funny on that. And I just wanted to see if it would work in a real room.
Can I tell you something though? And I think of you as being more generous of spirit than I am generally as a person, but I'm more generous of spirit with that joke than you are because I was a little bit happy with it when Shay did it because at least it was a joke. When we saw them doing their Netflix special, they weren't even doing jokes. They were just like
observing.
We've only ever seen them be like claptery, rabble-rousey. Right. It wasn't even a piece of writing.
Hey guys, yeah, don't we hate
who in this room haven't I fucked? At least they did a joke, and I reward baby steps for them.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I'm going to see if I can try it out at the Guilty Feminist. And then the twist is going to be, okay, I just wanted to try Shay's material to see if it got any laugh at all.
Right. And
you wouldn't close on it, though. It's a hack joke that's linking one idea to another. It's like a little segue.
Maybe they're like, look, in their defense, maybe they're doing like little bits that they're trying. You know, sometimes, I mean, Mock the Week is over now, but comedians who are going on Mock the Week, they will show up at a club and be like, and they'll just like rifle through this stuff that they've written.
They did say they were doing a new material. They said, I'm working my material out. Well, Sara Barron, this has been an unqualified delight, as always.
Always.
Please come and talk to us again. And do you have anything to plug?
Yes, I do. My partner and I are doing a television podcast. We did one about Succession. We are now branching that into...
Phenomenal show. I went to see it live.
Sweet of you to say, sweet of you to say. What we are doing is if you are a kind of person, you love your television and you're like, but what's my good shit? Where is the good shit? We are here to comb through it and be like, this is what you're watching
and
now.
It's gonna
you're going to like it. It's going to be called They Like to Watch.
Are you still Firecrotch and Normcore?
Yeah, so I would say Google Firecrotch and Normcore and you will find me.
That's Firecrotch and Normcore, They Like to Watch. And I am very excited about the podcast because I've really missed the Succession podcast almost more than I've missed Succession.
She's a good friend.
No, it's true. And now it just remains for me to say you have been listening to The Guilty Feminist Watchers and Just Like That with me, Deborah Frances White, and my very special guest, Sara Barron. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Tom Selinsky. The Guilty Feminist is part of the Acast Creator Network. And Just Like That is on Max in the United States and Sky Comedy and now in the UK. See you next